Happy Wednesday. This is Dr. Jeffrey Scott, and this is my Market MRI Pro update for July 2nd, 2025. Remember, the week ends on Thursday this week, and we get the monthly unemployment report, which, boy, if it comes in soft like some of the other numbers this week, the Fed is going to be pressured to cut in July. What will that do to this rally? Be interesting to see, won't it? Bitcoin and small caps lead a broad advance on Wednesday. The only bad news about the advance is, well, the Dow was flat. Um, Besides that, it wasn't on great volume. Volume is a little bit less than normal. So low volume advances are a lot less meaningful to me. Again, my name is Jeffrey Scott, marketmripro@gmail.com. Google group is Top Down Trader. Love to have you join that. That's my primary method of reaching out. And probably once or twice a week, one of these videos will end up there, but not on YouTube. As always, these are for education only. This is not to be considered investment advice. The intent here is to demonstrate how I use tools, especially my own tools, or tools that were developed for me to trade the markets from a top-down perspective. Trading involves risk, and you are solely responsible for any investment decisions you might make. Trading stocks and options should be considered risky, and you should always consult with your financial advisor before making trades. And just to reiterate, I am not a financial advisor. I am a cancer doctor. I give chemotherapy, not advice. And I have tools on multiple platforms, but I am an independent trader. And I've been trading for 30 years, which means I'm old. Join my Google group. It's called Top Down Trader. It's free. You get discounts to my tools. You get Top Down Trader only educational programs. And if you have any of my stuff on any of the platforms, whether it's for TradeStation, TradingView, Wealth Charts, it's a good place to sign up just because you'll know when I do my education events for people who have my platforms. Know your news and earnings. I already mentioned this is the big employment data day coming up on Thursday. We got some final PMI. That probably won't move much. Some factory orders and ISM services. I think this is all about the numbers. No earnings yet, but the earnings season is just about to begin. And as it says in the lower right-hand corner, it is a judgment call to hold stocks over earnings dates. It's bad judgment to not know when your stock's earnings date is scheduled. If you have questions about the product or have interest in buying it, Praveen is at coding@marketmripro.com. Praveen builds it and uses it, and I come up with a lot of the educational programs and a lot of the ideas. We both come up with the ideas for the program, and the beauty is we control the program. So if users have things that they think we're missing that are not proprietary, meaning we're not going to cheat and copy somebody else's stuff, we can build it in. I'm at marketmripro@gmail.com, and consider joining the Top Down Trader group. On to the charts. All right, this is one of the screens that I have on all day long, and it shows the current performance. So the market's closed. So first thing is I want to point out, if we look at these numbers, and these numbers represent everything except for the Dow, which finished here a little bit, 2/3 of its range. The rest of the ETFs, including Bitcoin, closed at the top of the day. That's a very bullish finding. The dollar finished at the bottom of the day. That's probably supporting part of the rally. And the volatility was in the middle of the day. When we look at one-day performance, Bitcoin up 4%. That's a massive day, especially on something that's a $100,000 plus instrument. Russell was up 1.39. 0.7 on the Qs, 0.45 on the spiders, and the diamonds relatively flat. Dollar down, VX, and then volatility was down. If you look over the last 5 days, the Russell's been up 4.27, the diamonds 3.45, as this rally has clearly rotated out of just the big cap tech names. New high, new lows, both positive and creeping up towards that happiness of triple digits at 12 months. If we look at the S&P 500 sectors, leadership in the market on Wednesday, energy, materials, technology, materials coming up from being a laggard. What was lagging on the session was healthcare. What else is new? This was led mostly by Centene withdrawing guidance and the rest of the managed care companies really pulling back hard. Utilities down 0.87, communication down 0.29. That's been a leader. And you look back over the last 3 months or so, it's been technology and communications. If we look at themes, one that can't seem to make up its mind because it goes from the leaders to the laggards regularly is solar, clean tech, metals mining, blockchain, genomics, copper, Internet of Things, biotech, wow, electric vehicles, semiconductors, oil production. Really feels like growth is back, and I do believe that the negativity that you may have felt about your portfolio on Tuesday was the reversal of the window dressing that I talked about last night. Market still feels like it wants to go higher. Here are three major indices, S&P 1500, NASDAQ, and the NYSE. The gray represents a day ago when you see it. The color bar represents today. You could see it was a little weaker day in some ways than yesterday. I talked about even though it felt bad yesterday, it was narrow the bad. We have less sectors and industry groups up versus yesterday, but we have 85% of the stocks in the S&P 15 up. That's a big number. 85% are above their midline. That's a very bullish, getting a little bit over bullish, perhaps. NASDAQ stronger today, more sectors, more industry groups up, 66% of stocks. And the NYSE 67 and 71 on sectors and industry groups, kind of mixed there, but 71% of the stocks up. So much better than a 50-50 day on the major markets. So you probably made money today. Looking at the timing brief, this is the daily, and we just have to look at the green and red lines here, and we are still long the daily charts, and you could see just significant uptrends at play, even with a little bit of a doji at the high here on the diamonds. Super strong day on the Russell. The weeklies continue to also be long as well with breakouts across the board. If we look at the U.S. index ETFs, we won't blow them up today because it's just a continuation. But what I wanted to share with you is something that we do have seasonality in the program, and look at what suggests that we've got a strong month here. July is one of the strongest months in the market. So spiders have broken out to all-time highs, still looks healthy. We are getting short-term overbought, and that could have some pausing to refresh ramifications. So as we mentioned before, the spiders were up today 0.45%. The Qs were up as well 0.70, and you could see heading up on seasonality. The diamonds were the laggard, down 0.04, also strong seasonality. And if we look down here at the Russell, I'm so impressed with the Russell yesterday, breaking above the 200. And it's in the midst of a short period of strong seasonality here and was up the biggest, 1.39. You might expect with the markets trading higher that the VIX would be down, and we know the VXX was, and the VIX futures were down, the VIX itself was down 1.13. And then if we look at 1.13, and if we look at the dollar, we could see the dollar is just bouncing off in a horrible area, was down just a bit today in the market, 0.07. Commodities were rallying today. You'll see gold and silver were both back up. Gold was up. That is the second. Gold was up 0.55, silver up 1.58. Oil had a nice move up as well. Was up 2.25. God only knows what natural gas is doing, but when it's bouncing around below the 200, I don't pay any attention. And then both the 10-year up 0.56, the 10-year was up 1.01 in the market on Wednesday, and the 30-year gapped up and was up 0.92. That's not a good thing. Buckets, we're still having an issue with our data provider on the S&P, but we're at 19% above the Bollinger Bands on the NYSE, 15 on the NASDAQ, and 23% on the Russell 2000. These are numbers that suggest that we are at a place where you'd expect a pause in the market, maybe some more rotation within the index, but they are getting extended with a huge shift to the right. Now, extended markets can get more extended, but when I see this and I combine it with what I have over here, which will show you the 13-week new high, new lows at 0.95, 0.92, 0.98, and 0.97, we're extended to the upside. And whether it's the move we've had, whether it is the stocks above the various moving averages, which we'll talk about momentarily, whether it's 13-week new high, new lows, the Warden T2121, all of them are pointing to, and the buckets, that we might have a breather coming. Market breadth, you can see another new high on the NYSE and a beautiful reversal, both closing at the high of the session on the NASDAQ. Down here you can see tilting up, stocks above the 50 in white, 20 in green, and 200 in red. Same thing over here. Not quite at the level where you expect to see it to get a reversal, but getting more and more to that point. And then when we look at new high, new lows, you could see a bunch of green bars now on both sides. AD lines have turned positive, up, down volume. And then the only negative thing on this chart is we've got bangos on both the NYSE and the NASDAQ. And those are, as I said usually before, the opposite of the bingo, which is the babies out with the bathwater bars. And they just tell me to be careful. Be aware, be careful. The ratio charts, Bitcoin strong session, communications weaken, discretionary picking up. Even the defensive staples turned up a little bit, kind of neutral on industrials, negative on utilities, not much on real estate, nothing on healthcare, tech still strong, financials not really, and energy maybe trying to turn around, materials up. So it's still tech driven, industrial second. I think the big change is that communications, which had been leading as well, significantly weakened. Now, most of you are aware that we introduced seasonality into the program. I'm so excited. It will plot on charts. You can pick 5, 10, 15, 20-year seasonality. It's got a great scanner, and I'll look to hold a educational program on just seasonality very soon and talk about how I use the scanner to find great choices. So my gestalt is this market continues to go higher. My what's the word I want to use? The mechanical buy-sell signals say be long daily and weekly. Therefore, I'm long. I am mostly committed to the market. I just moved some money into my trading account, so I have raised some cash, but it's not from selling positions. I just moved some money in. Unfortunately, I sold my Santa Fe house, which is what happens when your grandkids are in other places. Wife won't go there anymore, so she made me sell the house, but turned out to be a pretty good investment, and so I moved some money to my trading account for when the next opportunity comes in. I think we'll see a pause before that happens, so I'm going to let the cash sit there. If I go into the JAS layout, this is where I do most of my work for stocks. You can see we have 3,768 stocks. Where do they come from? They come from a number of places. The NASDAQ, the NYSE, and the Amex. And then we just do a quick filter of $1 and 100,000 shares. Now, I don't trade that universe. I would actually come in here and probably throw on the price greater than $5 and the volume greater than 500,000 filter, and that'll take it down to a little bit less than 2,000. So that's the universe that I trade. If I go into the top-down view, you could see still working with that 1,953 stocks. But now I could look at where the leadership was. And we just look at the move for one day. Materials, energy, industrials, and tech. So let's just look at those four. And then over here, I'm going to take all the industry groups. And now we're only going to get those groups in those four. And let's rank them by performance. So I got coal, wow, gold, oil, gas, drilling, solar, industrial, copper, computer, uranium, refiners, aluminum. 1, 2. All right, so here I have 95 stocks that represent the top 10 industry groups in the leading four sectors. Let's rank them by 1 day change, and let's just run through some of them at the top. AMR, this is a coal stock. And the first one, we have to wake up the data provider. And you could see this is one that's really come off. So this is what rotation looks like. You get some of the laggards, and they start to give you some interesting signals. Coming out of a squeeze, good volume, several days. A relative strength in OBV crossing. You got volume breakout momentum in a CPR. AMR, does it pay a dividend? I sure want one, and pays a dinky dividend. All right. So you got to believe in coal. CNR, Core National Resources. Don't know what this company does. 0.5% dividend. Obviously, it's a natural resource stock. Infrastructure, technology. So it's some type of an infrastructure. Don't know what it does, but similar pattern, except it's doing this at the 50. LEU, this is Centrus Energy. They're involved in the uranium business, and I love it right here. I'd like to see some momentum dots come in, which we didn't have any, and the volume was light, and we haven't crossed down here, but we pulled back to the 17 in a period of strong seasonality. First Solar, this one just got some big upgrades. Seasonality is pretty strong right here. Seagate Technology. Wow. Wow. From the 70s to 150 in 3 months. I guess you got to have storage for the data centers. HCC, another coal company. And you're going to start to see a bunch of these things starting to move. So it's probably worthwhile to take a look at them. The volume is impressive again. And this one pays a 1.5%. IonQ, I think this is one of those quantum computer companies. Maybe we should put in a little bit more about what the companies do, a description. But you can see a nice uptrend, positive seasonality. I like this one a lot right here. It's had a big run, which would be the only negative, but relative strength and OBV crossing out of a squeeze with volume breakout momentum and a CPR in the EMS. And look at this seasonality. Marathon Petroleum, so here's your first of the refiners. Again, you could see strong seasonality. The stock is broken out. He had a golden cross here as well. Valero is another one of the refiners. And if you look at the high jump, not any close in the high jump right now. So I would go through this list. Here's Southern Copper. Breaking out, copper has been extremely strong. NXT, Next Tracker, is a solar-based company. Bad seasonality. PSX, another refiner and marketer. Big downtrends. Are these things going to change? Who knows? Rigetti is another quantum computing company. These things have gone up a lot. Remember, the price range is the first thing on the right, has to do with relative strength, which is turned off right now. So I typically go through and see if there's anything I like. We talked about SMCI over the weekend when it had these 2 dots in a row and then a third, which are the momentum dots. It pulled back on this date, but a nice day. And I think this is another one to continue to think about, look at the seasonality coming in. So that's one thing you can do to look at things and try to find ideas. Another is to just go in and say, all right, let's rank all the industry groups. And if you see a blank one, it's going to be one stock that's in the wrong place. So you're welcome to keep it or not. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I just rank, and now I have all the industry groups, I have 70 stocks that make it through. Remember, I've got a filter on it. And there's your AMR first, again, your HCC. So if you're thinking about coal, coal is really showing some strength right now. And as much as I've thought, why would I buy coal? It's dead. It still moves. Um, you're buying the stock. You're not buying the company. You're not marrying it. It's a short-term opportunity, and some of them may pay some dividends, and some may get a decent return. All right, what else can we do? Um, I also like to do bottoms up. So let's just go into, flip back here to the impulse list, which is my top. Here you got 1,953 stocks. Let's go down and let's add pullbacks in an uptrend. And the reason for that is to get things that haven't run away from us already. Let's rank them by number of dots. And let's just see what comes up. ZVRA. It's a drug company. I know nothing about it. W buys a cheap. Don't know. VRNT. Variant Technology. UUUU is a uranium play. I actually have a position in this. This one had a big breakout. We know uranium was strong. Seasonality is okay. SKYT, Skywater. Again, I don't know much about this company, but I like the picture here. I like all the dots, the breakouts of relative strength and OBV. I love the seasonality. Let's see when earnings are. Earnings are not to August 6th. Look at some of the growth rates we've had the last 3 quarters. And even though there was no growth in May, look at the surprises on both revenue and on the left earnings. That looks interesting. MT is a steel stock. It's an ADR. Here's that IonQ. I like that one. Golden Ocean Shippers. Now, CSIQ is a solar stock. A little bit cheaper than First Solar. Really no seasonality. AMR again, the coal stocks showing up. So this is another way that I like to look at what's working in the market. And then just before I close it, I will clear this and I'll go with my secret weapon. Let's put the 5 and 500,000 filters on and let's look at 2-day momentum up. Let's hit OK. And boy, we got a lot. So let's just look at these before we say goodbye. You'll notice things are faster. I took off one of the indicators. I have Matt Caruso's FOMO indicator on, which is great, except it calculates the in the whole NASDAQ the percent new highs versus new 5-day new highs. And every time I changed stocks, it calculated it again, and it was slowing things down. Honda Motor ETF. Not ETF, but a ADR kind of bouncy. Greenbrier, flat, 2 big volume days in a row, lots of bullishness there. Earnings are out, had a big change on earnings, pays a 2.5% dividend, way off of its prior highs. This is probably one worth taking a look at. XENE is a healthcare stock. Starwood Property Real Estate. This one pays a 10%, $1.92 on a $20, about a 10% dividend. Here's your 2 dots in a row. Relative strength and OBV look good. This might be interesting if for no other reason it pays a giant dividend. KIM, Kimco Group, another dividend payer, 4.36, not that exciting. ZGN, clothes store and designer that will never fit me in my 6'5" frame unless I go custom. Nice seasonality. I'm just looking for something that blows my mind. XIFR, an infrastructure play. Now all of these have that secret weapon, which is 2 days in momentum in a row. I'd rather find a good technical setup, something already in an uptrend, to go with it if I can. THO, I think of them as making motor coaches. Thor Industries, about to break above the 200s in a nice uptrend, has great seasonality, at least for the next couple of weeks. Look at the relative strength at OBV coming out of a squeeze. I might look at that one. STRD, MicroStrategy, 10%. Don't know anything about this. I'm skipping it. SEE, Sealed Air, got to break above the 200. It's been a barrier in the past. RITM, Rhythm Capital, 10.96 dividend, kind of a sideways mover. Seasonality's okay. PLL, Piedmont Lithium, JBTM, JBT Merrill Corporation. It's a breaking out here, and it's in an uptrend. Seasonality is it's positive. It's an IPO. Jack in the Box, I won't eat there, and I'm not too interested in the stock. IEP, Icon Enterprises, the asset managers, when I looked at them over the weekend, looked interesting. This is what they are, 9.68% dividend. Now the issue is it can still drop. Seasonality is okay. HI, Hillenbrand Industrials, a breakout above the 50 with two dots in a row. Great relative strength at OBV. Earnings are not to August. 3% dividend. This one, again, I prefer above the 200, but short of that, it looks okay. FMC, energy. I thought this was the energy space. I guess it's in the chemical space. Fungicides. So FMC Corporation, 4.79%. Big surprises on earnings and revenue. Like to see it get above the 200. No idea what D000 is. I have no idea what BRP is, but I like the chart. I mean, big downtrend, retest the 200 and breaking out here. A bunch of strong volume days. EMS is fired, CPR is fired. Volume, 2 days of momentum. Relative strength and OBV look good. I'd have to do some research on this. I'm just looking at these big surprises, even though the earnings are slowing down. Do your research. Don't know what it does. Anything news interesting? Power Sports Leader, flagship store. All right. Celldex, biotech. We knew biotech was strong. Sometimes when it comes to biotech, even though I'm in healthcare, I find it easier to buy LABU when I want to be long biotech. LABU is a leveraged ETF that goes up when the biotech is strong. I don't see much here. Still got to get above the 200. Celanese, specialty chemicals. Nice uptrend. Seasonality suggests that it's probably not going to go up much. Way below the 200. Agio, small biotech in the metabolic disease space. Nice uptrend pullback. Just still got to get above that 200. TripAdvisor broke above the 200. Seasonality is okay, not great. No dividend. Last earnings were May 7th with a good surprise and growth in earnings. SSD, Simpson Manufacturing. I wonder if they make SSDs. Got to get above the 200. NWL, Newell Brands. They used to be Rubbermaid. Again, well below the 200. HST, Host Resorts. CP, Canadian Pacific Railroad. Cody, Consumer Staples. Caleres. So you notice anything about these stocks? Here's like we saw one up here that was about leisure. But nice uptrend here. Be nice if it broke above the 200. This is Brunswick Corporation. There's the two dots. Relative strength and OBV look good. And then AXTA, which is AXTA Coating, way down in the pattern. So isn't it interesting that I told you that the market is strong? And when we look from a top-down perspective, and when we look for signals like with the two dots, the momentum dots, we find a lot of things that are beaten up and starting to come back. Well, That's what happens when you have rotation, and I think that's what we're seeing here. Over the weekend, I talked about builders. We looked at toll builders, and I called that out here, and it really looks like something is happening, and that they must be anticipating a rate cut, and I'm still looking at these as well. So there you go, 30 minutes top-down perspective. We looked at a bunch of stocks, some of those refiners, some of the coal look interesting. I think that on this group, Greenbrier looked really interesting to me. So I hope you have a wonderful, safe, healthy, and happy 4th of July. Be careful with the fireworks. Nothing's more important than your health and your family. And we'll see you all probably when you won't see me tomorrow night, Thursday night. I'm going to be on my boat a lot this weekend, but I'm sure I'll find time to do a video on Saturday or worst case on Sunday. Happy holidays, everybody. Oh yeah, if you have questions about buying Market MRI Pro, remember there is a $400 discount in play right now through the 11th of July, and you just email me at marketmripro@gmail.com. I'll give you the particulars. And thanks to those that bought it, I did a couple of videos, live videos, web videos, webinars last weekend, and we had a flurry of purchases. So I always appreciate the confidence people put in me. And I'm very serious. We have a phenomenal programmer in Praveen. And if you have ideas and you want to share them with the rest of us, we'll build them in the program. Nothing proprietary, nothing that'll get me in trouble. But if you have some ideas, we'd love to incorporate. Have an awesome, awesome, awesome holiday weekend.